Live.
Okay. All righty.
Hello, everyone. This is Whitney Weston with Valkyrie Sport Horses. And with me today, we have an honored guest, Dr. Kay Porter. And would you like to tell us a little about yourself and what do you do every day helping these athletes?
What do I do every day? Well, I'm seeing them on the back porch now because of COVID-19,
Right.
or on the phone or live like this, usually. So, you ask the questions and I'll answer them.
Sounds good. Sounds good. So we've known each other for, oh my gosh, how long? A decade at least I've been working with you.
A while, yes.
A while when I was based in Oregon, and you live up in Track Town, Eugene, with University of Oregon. So that's pretty cool to be in your elements of all those special athletes. But you took me under your wing as one of your equestrian students, and I've learned so much from you over the years. I think a lot of us riders are kind of type A perfectionists. We want to be good at what we do. We work very hard, and sometimes it's the mental stuff that gets in the way. A lot of the time, actually. So I'm so happy to have you here, and maybe we could go through some of those techniques that helped me and can help some of our listeners as well.
Yes.
How did you get started in Tracktown? You went to school there?
I went to school here to get my PhD. I was a professor for 8 years in another discipline, and I knew a lot of the coaches. And one of the things I was teaching a lot of times was visualization and imagery in my classes, and they knew that. And I was a runner at that time. I was a master's runner, and so I was competing and so forth. And I've been an athlete all my life. I actually in high school, college, I played varsity tennis. And so I knew a lot about how not to be mentally.
Right.
There's nothing invented then, I learned a lot though. And so we teach what we have to learn, I guess. So I started working with some of the athletes at the University of Oregon. And this was a long time ago. I mean, because I've been in the field since the 80s. And it was really a lot of fun. And so when I left the university, I decided that I wanted to do sports psychology counseling. And so I started working with all sorts of athletes, elite athletes, younger athletes. And I still to this day work with a wide variety of sports and ages. And I really love what I do. I've been doing it a long time. And along the way, I wrote a book called The Mental Athlete. And it was in, oh yeah, let's see, I have one right here. It's actually out of, here we go. It's actually out of print now. There's probably a few copies, hard copies, online at Amazon or wherever. It's in ebook form though, so you can find it that way. And it was sort of a little cult classic for a long time. It sold about 95,000 copies which is really good for a small little book like this. Yeah. You'd think I could have retired on that, but you don't get that much money from not that many copies. So anyway, I still work with a lot of athletes and I really enjoy what I do. It's very enlightening, invigorating, and I help them change a negative mindset to a positive mindset and to change their what they say to themselves, change their imagery, teaching them to focus and concentrate, to let go of anxiety, nervousness, and that sort of thing. So it's a lot of fun.
Oh my gosh. So we need all of those things. Can we condense half an hour to fix all our problems?
Oh, well, maybe.
Maybe we'll try. We'll give it a shot. Well, my first question is, what are the most common issues that athletes come to you for? Is there a common theme that us humans, while we're humaning and trying to do our best in sports, just really struggle with?
Yes. I was really surprised early on because there were a lot of sports I didn't know anything about. And when I started with you, I know I had worked with a couple of equestrians, but I gosh, I learned a lot from you too about the sport in general.
Sure.
It was very interesting, actually. Um, so the commonalities across sports in all different sports. Oh dear, I have a cat that's
I'll say hi, Katie.
she's sitting behind me. We'll see if I have to remove her from the room. But anyway, a lot of the commonalities are nervousness, before an event, and that can be a week ahead or a day ahead or an hour ahead. And so finding ways and commonality ways or common ways for every sport to calm your nerves.
Mhm.
And so anxiety or nervousness, being beating yourself up if you make mistakes, letting go of mistakes, um, figuring out what you should have done instead, and learn from that, and then let it go.
Mhm.
Um, Lots of things like that. So
Wow. I mean, absolutely. It's so interesting that there are across the board issues that all athletes deal with. Exactly what you're saying. It's fascinating that you could be giving the same sort of mental techniques to us as riders, but also to runners, to hockey players. I mean, we all have to
right.
deal with what's going on up here for sure.
Yeah,
That's
it's really
pretty
important. Yeah. And
absolutely.
finally, I mean, it's taken years. I was one of the first people to do sports psychology in the 80s and to have a book. Now there's lots and lots of books, um, it's really a good thing, and it's a huge field now. But oh gosh, I was going to say something. I forgot what it was. Um,
Uh,
some
Is it
profound thing, I'm
hard
sure.
for people to pick and choose? Like maybe there's too much information now, and it's hard for people to
Yeah.
find something that really clicks with them, you
Well,
know?
I've always been right. I've always been an applied person.
Mhm.
In anything that I was in. I was originally a math major in college, so who knew I was going to be a therapist? I
Who's
had no idea. um, but I really am applied, and so the book
that?
is an applied book. It's how
Mhm.
to, and I
Right.
believe yes, we can figure out why, but we still have to know how to fix it. And so it's what do I do and how do I fix this, and that's really important. Um,
Love
and
that.
one of the things I've used over the years is something called energy psychology, which is working with blinking. It's really weird stuff, but it's cutting edge, and a lot of people in sports psychology are using these techniques,
Mhm.
or the energy psychology anyway. And what fits under that is the imagery, the self-talk, mantras, affirmations, whatever you want to call them, and then blinking and tapping. There's something called rapid eye movement, and this is all backed up by research and stuff. And I don't go into that because people can
We don't got time for
search
that.
the internet and figure out all that stuff. I don't talk about it that much. But they've done a lot of research on all of this. And so the
Cool.
blinking and the breathing and tapping, which it turns out there's different places on your body that you can tap and breathe. And those are actually acupressure meridians or points that you're tapping on. And that's why it sort of opens up the circuits, so to speak, if they're
Mhm.
blocked. And the tapping opens them up and makes your energy flow better. And then you use the blinking and breathing to let go of anxiousness, nervousness, and so forth. And so it's powerful stuff.
So
And
cool.
a lot of people in just regular psychology and counseling and therapy use this. And that's where it has originally come from.
That is awesome, and we've definitely talked over that so many times in our experiences together. You working with me over the years with all the courses and travels, but maybe we could introduce some of our listeners to this newer concept because
Sure.
I had a lot of people write in and say, "All right, I am scared when I'm riding, especially when A, B, or C happening." yeah, my horse is being a butthead, maybe. Overcoming show nerves. How do I be more confident? You know, especially with competition, we see sort of our worst nerves show up. So, is there something you would recommend as far as using the blinking or the tapping to prepare people? Does it clear their minds of anxiety? What are some sort of bullet points we could help people with?
Well, one of them is, let's see, one of them would be compartmentalization. And so the more that you can do that, um, and set aside what you're feeling and be in the moment. It's always being in the moment, being in the moment, being in the moment, you know? And so one of the examples I have, which is not from sports, but it can be, one time I gave a huge talk in Boston for 1,500 people. And I had to eat dinner beforehand. I was the dinner speaker. And so how I prepared was I literally moment to moment to moment, you know, and once I was prepared and I knew what I was going to say and everything, I stayed in the moment. I didn't think about that, you know. One of the other things that in my preparation was also doing imagery about how I wanted to feel when I was on the podium. I knew what I was going to say, but being relaxed and confident and trusting myself and I knew my content really well. And so I did all that preparation. And then when I was that day or even, you know, that night when I was eating dinner, I just kept staying in the moment. And then when when they introduced me and everything, I got up and I just did my thing. It was showtime, sort of, you know, and I stayed in the moment and I knew what I was going to be talking about and it went over really well. But that's how you do it. And so when you're writing, you do exactly the same thing. You can do an imagery about, if you're eventing, you have the 3 different events. You can do imageries for those of you being one with the horse and feeling comfortable and confident and trusting yourself, trusting the horse. We'll talk about that a little bit too in a minute. But imagining how you want to be. Also, when you do imagery, one of the things you can watch yourself as in a tape or a video in your mind where you are writing. But I also like to have my athletes be in their body, so you're actually looking out of your eyes at where you're going to be competing and so forth. And so you can do both of those, but the most important one is being in your body because that's what you're competing with, you know?
Almost like a GoPro view, like if something was viewing
Exactly.
from your head. Okay, yeah, yeah,
Mhm,
that makes
mhm.
sense.
Yeah. In fact, that'd be a great way to, if you had a GoPro to video it, you know, and look it over and so forth. That's a
True.
really great way to practice, you
Next
know,
one.
imagery. Yeah, exactly. Um, so, uh, in your preparation, you will do all that. And then when that day, you know, you wake up and you might be nervous, but it's also physiologically regular nervousness is like excitement and because the same kinds of things happen, you know, so you can sort of in your mind go, okay, I'm excited. This is going to be,
Completed.
and then, you know, you eat breakfast, you focus on the people you're around, you talk to them, whatever your preparation is pre-competition wise, you do that. And you just stay moment to moment to moment. Okay. Then when you're sitting there waiting to go out, you can do breathing exercises. You can do little affirmations of, um, I've got this, or I feel good. This is going to be fine. I'm excited. I trust my horse. I trust myself. You know, whatever the affirmations are. And then, ping, you know, when you're riding, then you stay in the moment and, you know, you focus on whatever it is that you're going to be doing or what you are doing, not be doing, but what you are doing. If you make a mistake, if the horse makes a mistake, you just let it go. You can
Let
think
it
about it later, you know,
go. Right.
and then you just refocus. and you can have this little inner coach in your mind that's not going, you stupid blank, blank. I want you to do all that.
No.
Talk, okay? No, 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 no. So it's like the inner coach, it's okay, let it go. You've got this. You're all right. Refocus. That's what you're telling yourself in your brain. And you just have to let go of that mistake. You can think about it later, but not then. Okay.
Right. That makes sense.
And then you just refocus and you reassure the horse if that's what you need to do, whatever you're doing there. But you have to stay in the moment. And that will keep you from worrying about a lot of things. You're not worried. If you're in the moment and you're focusing on what you're doing and the course and everything else, if you're just focusing on that, you're not worried about, people watching you. You're not worried about people before or after you. You are in the moment.
It takes away some of those issues.
Exactly. Yeah. So that really does help a lot. Cool. And it's a practice. One of the things, my imagery and visualizations that are online, they're a little long. They're maybe 17 minutes, and the attention span of most athletes these days is about 1 minute.
That sounds right. Sounds accurate.
And we teach ourselves to multitask, which is not so great when you're on a horse. You don't want, when you're competing, you want to be totally present, awake, and aware, and focusing on what you're doing. You're not thinking about everyone that. Okay, so that takes its own practice, and so that's why people use meditation or imagery or whatever, just to think about one thing at a time, and it takes practice to do that. I mean, when I see people in my office, or even when I'm talking to them, I want them to be listening to me. I don't want them to be thinking about or about dinner or what happened today. I want them to be present with me, and I am totally present with them. So it's a practice for that. One of the other things I want to talk about is a little bit is about your relationship with your horse, because every single bit of anxiousness, nervousness, whatever it is, goes right into that horse.
We know it, right? Yeah.
So the more you can be within yourself and one with the horse, literally, which you are, the better you're going to perform. So
that's so cool. It's amazing how much similarities that I start to hear from what you're saying, and it comes out in other ways. Say when I'm coaching, you'll hear phrases a lot like ride every stride of your canter, feel your horse. So I think all those elements are exactly what you're talking about. You're using all of your senses. You're totally focused on your job. You're feeling the horse underneath you. You're seeing, but you're also so focused on that task. Like you said, the annoying people at the inn gate who were snickering behind your back before, they don't even exist when you're in that zone. And that's so important. We also have a question here from the audience, if you're ready for one. All right. Christiane London says, so how do you fix your imagery? I find visualization helpful, with the exception that I seem to purposefully direct myself to see things go well, and that takes lots of mental energy.
Yes. And the question is?
That sounds right. I think you're on the right track, man. Yeah.
One of the things when you are, and it doesn't have to be very long. I mean, it can be a minute or 2 or 3 minutes or 5 minutes or whatever. If you notice that you're drifting off, then you just bring your focus and concentration onto it. What imagery is seeing it, feeling it, hearing it. And we all have different modalities of strengths, the way we experience things. And so if you can see images in your mind, then that's what you're going to be doing, and feeling the feelings of relaxation or confidence or,
Mhm.
being present, whatever it is. And so that's what you're doing. If you notice your mind drifts, you just go, oops, and you
Breathe.
come back to the present moment and refocus. And you need to do that even, when you're competing. If you notice that you space out, you don't beat yourself up, just come back to the moment and to what you're doing.
Just keep recentering. That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. And one of the things in the book, but I mean, one of the things I do with the athletes that I work with is just ask them to think about a certain, I usually just use the imagery of going to the coast or going to the beach. And I just ask them, what do you notice? And with their eyes closed, what do you notice? What do you notice? What do you notice? And so you might see something, you might feel, you might feel the wind on your face or the sun on your face, or you feel the sand under your feet. Or maybe you're hearing the waves,
Mm-hmm.
so we all have these strengths. The three main modalities are visual, auditory, and kinesthetic, which means feelings in the body.
Mm-hmm.
And so you figure out what sort of you are. And one of my strengths is I'm kinesthetic visual. So I feel feelings in my body. And I also, if I close my eyes, I can reconstruct whatever, like the bedroom or the office or, the playing field or whatever. I can see it in my head. Not everybody can do that. But that's how you sort of strengthen those things.
So that would be like a way to practice when you're not under the pressure of a show or a jump round, just to
Yeah.
get in tune with those skills.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And if you're highly auditory, I mean, the way I know people are highly auditory is that they oftentimes can hear music in their head without their their iPhone. It's just
That's
playing in
awesome.
there. I'm not like that at all, but I did work with a
Mhm.
golfer one time who I kept saying, we were out on the golf course and I'm asking him, what do you see? Gray. Finally, I figured out that he didn't see anything at all, but he was, so
He was
I
hearing
worked.
drums.
He saw nothing. I mean, his eyes were closed, so it was gray in there, right?
Oh, honey. Yeah.
So,
We all have our
but
special skills.
he at least had the kinesthetic, which I worked with, and he also had the uh, funk of the ball when he hit it,
Yeah.
and all the sounds. So, not my modality, but I can work with that too.
So
So it's
I
quite
guess
interesting. So you would hear, the horse or the announcer, or the sound that the horse is making, or the squeaking of the saddle, or I don't know what you hear, but lots of things like that. And you just
all
it's
right.
what you
And it keeps you
on
in the
the moment.
moment. It keeps you
Be here
focused.
now.
All right. All right. So we have to find out which of our superpowers we resonate with as far as our senses. Practice
Yes.
with that one and try and recall that one when you need your focus or to get in the moment. That's
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
love it. I love it. So what about becoming more confident? Because I know confidence is a big thing that came up with a lot of our listeners and a lot of my students and myself as well. We all want to be confident and feel like we're going into the arena or the start box just ready to take on the world. What if we're not generally that type of a person? It feels foreign sometimes.
It does. And the more nervous you are, the harder it is to feel that.
Right.
You know. Um One of the things that I would have people do, and you guys video things all the time.
Mhm.
Um I would have you video or have yourself videoed
Mhm.
um, doing a really good performance or doing a really good practice round or
Mhm.
whatever. And we're all so critical of ourselves when we're on tape and or whatever video, looking at it, going, oh, "That's wrong. That's wrong." You
Right.
need to sort of find the right things,
Right.
um, but just something that will build your confidence
Okay.
in your performance. So that's one
Mhm.
way.
And watch
Uh,
that.
mhm, mhm.
Okay. Making like a
Um,
playlist, like a best of.
mhm.
I
Yeah,
like.
but something that's, I mean, that's positive, that
Mhm.
you performed really well. in practice is fine too. That would be one way. Another way is working with yourself, making whatever your negative self statements are, like, I don't know what they might be. You suck, or boy, are you stupid, or I don't know.
All the above. We all do it.
Right. Okay.
Right.
So
Yeah.
you can write down all the negative things that you can think of if you want, or that you say to yourself, that I want you to stop saying to yourself. But then the other column is writing an affirmation for it.
Okay.
Like,
Switch
that
more
you
positive.
suck. Yeah. So you write something positive. It has to be, or it's better if it's in the present moment. It starts with I, which would be like, I am trusting myself. So that's in the present, and it's a positive affirmation. I easily let go of mistakes and refocus. My focus and concentration are excellent. So these are things you say to yourself, not when you're writing or anything like that necessarily. I mean, not when you're competing, but you say these to yourself over and over until they become more and more true. And it's really letting go of all that negative self-talk, because actually the brain does not have a sense of humor, and it does not let's see, it sort of gets rid of the knots. And so if you say, I'm not nervous, it gets rid of the knot, and it's like, I am nervous.
So that's even worse. Don't do that. Okay.
Right. So you want it to be positive. And literally, when you say these things over and over and over again, they become more and more true, honestly. And it's not just being a Pollyanna or anything like that. One of my examples would be when I was giving talks at marathons. And I would run, and I wouldn't run the marathon necessarily, but I would run in the place that I was. And so, and one time in somewhere, where was it? Pittsburgh or somewhere. So I had this big meeting with this guy in the big office building downtown, but I knew I was going to run first, and then I was going to meet him in his office. So first of all, I finished running, and I go in the door, and the 12 o'clock thing goes off, and all these people that were dressed beautifully. I mean, I was sweaty and nasty. And so one of my affirmations at that time was, I am comfortable in any social situation.
That's a good one.
And the universe sort of served up examples for me to practice it, right? So that was the first one. So I get up to his office, and he's all glad to see me and everything. And there's this other guy from ESPN that I've been talking to and trying to get on a program with. And he was in there too. And here I am like, well, this is me, you know? And I just kept thinking, I am comfortable in any social situation. And what happens is, when you say those things in your head, it does relax you. You know, it just does. I mean, for me anyway. And so the more you're used to that, and after a while, I didn't ever have to say that again, because I really created and create comfort for myself in any social situation, no matter who it is. I think I could meet anybody and, you know, not be starstruck necessarily, and just
that's incredible wisdom. So it's amazing. Like, so just by practicing, like you said, the art of meditation, it's a practice of meditation, the practice of, I mean, mental performance, really.
Yes.
You know,
yes, really.
So many different skills and tools, and I love this. So becoming confident, a lot about changing over negative self-talk to positive self-talk. I'm going to work on that with my students as well, and myself, because we all slip into it. It's so easy.
I mean, just like something simple like, I have a friend, she meditates all the time, and I'm glad she does. But if she does something, if she, you know, drops something or breaks something, I get on her, because she says negative things to herself. I'm going, stop that. You know, and so I've noticed in my own self, if I drop something or spill something, what I say is, really? It's not, I mean, I never say you're stupid to myself ever. Um,
No, that
but I
can't
just
help.
go, really? And that's sort of I don't know. It seems to be positive to me, but
Yeah, it's a good in between, right?
works
At
better than negative self-talk for sure.
Yeah. Oh no, for sure, for sure. Um, I would love to segue us into some of maybe a quick version of the blinking routine. I
Yes.
was talking to some students and I saw someone commented on our live stream today that the blinking routine is so helpful. It helps get your head clear right before you go in the ring, and it's not too wild or too long that you can't do it in a split second. I do it before I
Mhm.
go down the center line, into the start box, and absolutely through the gate into the show jump. And maybe you could help us come through this a little
Yeah.
bit.
One of the things too, when you're afraid or you're nervous,
Mm.
ask yourself, am I breathing?
Yes.
Because when we've made a mistake, if we're nervous, whatever, we hold our breath. If we're
So,
angry, we hold our breath a lot of times. So
mhm.
one of the most important things is to just go, just through your nose and out through your mouth. You don't want to hyperventilate or anything like that, but it's like just regular breathing.
Mhm.
And if you, some people, if you can't get a deep breath, then you do an exhale first. Just,
Oh,
and then close your mouth and then, so it's like inhaling through
huh.
your nose, exhaling out of your mouth. But that does wonders as well before anything else.
Yeah.
Okay. So the refocusing technique, there's two things. I'll show you the refocusing technique in a second, but one of the guys that's went to the U of O, who's a hurdler. I never worked with him, but I saw him. I was watching the Olympics the last time, and he was in the finals of the high hurdles, and he was standing there going like this. And
Excellent. That's one of
he,
the points you were
that's
talking
all.
about.
Yes, that's all he was doing. That is one of the points, or can be one of the points. And he was just doing that. And I'm going, oh my gosh, I knew he didn't learn it at the U of O because they don't teach it to their guys there. He learned it in high school from his high school coach, what this is. And if all else fails, do this. While you're
Okay.
sitting there or, waiting to go in the ring and so forth, just tap. It's like, here's your throat, here's your um, thymus, and it's right in there in between. So you just tap it. What it does is it releases nervousness,
Hmm.
and it just calms your nervous system. So something that simple.
That's a good one. That's
Yeah.
easy. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally. So,
Happen.
and that's just aside from that is one of the points in energy psychology for calming. So, but what I've developed is this little refocusing technique. And so I will show it to you and describe it, and then I'll lead you through it. Okay. So the first thing is just with your eyes open, just blinking for 3 or 4 seconds. And then you squeeze shut, open wide 3 or 4 times. And then 3 deep breaths through your nose and out through your mouth. And then either look left or right. It's easier just to, look horizontally left to right 3 or 4 times. Okay. So, or you can put your finger in front of, but if you don't want anybody to know what you're doing, you know, um, you know,
Yes.
you, but if you're by yourself and you're freaking out, before you take a test or something like that. So, okay. So ready? And you can
Are you
write this after we're done. So the first thing is rapid blinking for 3 or 4 seconds. Then squeeze shut, open wide 3 or 4 times. Then 3 big deep breaths through your nose and out through your mouth. And then looking left to right horizontally 3 or 4 times.
Awesome. I feel calmer
Mhm.
already.
Yeah,
And we're just talking. So imagine that, at a show where it's hot and your heart's beating, and
right.
I like that. Yeah, that's
And
the
you can
one.
do it quickly too. I mean, you can just do it can be really fast, It doesn't have to be if if you happen to notice that you're dizzy or something like that, you just put your hand on top of your head.
Mhm. Does that mean maybe we're breathing too fast,
I don't
or
know if it made me dizzy, and it doesn't usually. I have no idea. And you can also if you want to do, just your chest. It actually, when I teach people this, I really have to focus on what I'm talking about because it does clear my mind and there's nothing in there. So I really have to pay attention to what I'm doing. But anyway, when you do
Yeah.
this, you'll notice that, wow, all those negative thoughts are gone, or my
Awesome.
freak out's gone, or whatever.
Hmm.
So it's a very powerful technique. Practice it, in the office or at home or whatever. Um, so you get used to it and you know what to do, and then just do it, before practice even.
That is
And it
so
will clear your mind so you can absorb more of what your coach and your instructor is telling you.
That's excellent. Oh, I hope that everyone really gives that a try. And,
Yeah.
we do so much to help ourselves, our horses, and learn all these skills and tools that help us be successful. So why
So,
not do
so
these?
yeah. So should I go through that once more? So
Oh,
if you
sure.
have a pen and pencil,
Okay.
whoever's watching,
Hmm.
the first thing is rapid blinking, 3 to 4 seconds.
Hmm. 3 to 4 seconds. Write it down, guys.
And then the, and then the second thing is squeeze shut, open wide, which is you're still blinking, but they're really exaggerated. So you do that 3 or 4 times. And then 3 deep breaths through your nose and out through your mouth. And then just looking left to right horizontally 3 or 4 times. And that's it.
I love it.
So,
So I do have a question. Many questions. What if someone is, say, actively nervous about a specific thing? For horse people, it's usually a specific type of jump. Some
mhm.
horses and some people maybe have a little fear of coffins, ditches, liver pools, banks, water, tricaners. I mean, everyone's got their something. So, say you've got someone who has that on their course and they're really worried about it. What of
Mhm.
these techniques or something else could they do?
One of the things before they ride is just imagining them performing well
Mm,
on that particular jump,
hmm.
you know, and just seeing it going well, feeling it going well, and then letting go.
Okay.
And when it starts to come up, just breathing a little bit and saying, in your head,
Hmm.
I've got this, or everything's great, or it's going to be
Hmm.
okay, and then be present with the horse. I mean, you're not thinking about, I mean, you're flowing with the horse. And so I can't emphasize that enough, is flowing with the horse.
Hmm.
Um, but
Beautiful.
mostly focusing on what you're doing and the technique. Um, and it should take care of itself.
That makes a lot of sense. So basically, we're clearing all the jibber jabber that we
Yeah.
naturally do, the
Mhm.
negative self talk, the anxiety, the nerves. We're
Mhm.
clearing that so we can actually access those skills that we've worked so hard to maintain. Like, say,
Mhm.
your coach has been yelling, shoulders back this week. That's something you'll need to remember for this tricky jump, especially.
Mhm.
So that's huge.
Yeah.
I love it.
Do you have anything to add from your own experience around
You
that?
know, that kind of got me thinking. I made some notes over here. I know that some of these we've talked about over the years, but the compartmentalization you already mentioned for sure. I mean, that happens for a lot of us because we have jobs, whether it's at a desk or with a horse or, our family. There's always some kind of drama going on. So you always had me mentally put that thing in a box up on a shelf in my brain and say, it's going to be there when the competition's over. So that I remember when I first started doing that really helped me separate the stress that's, really doesn't have an impact on the competition that day. It's not an emergency, but
Mhm.
it'll be there when you're done with the show. So just putting that to the side, compartmentalization was huge. The refocus technique you followed everyone through, that's man, that's a game changer. It really is. And you can do it anytime, anywhere, and it works every time. I also have the normal kind of advice. Really make sure you have food and water. So I like non-perishable things like jerky or boiled egg that you can quickly kind of throw in a bag. Definitely lots of water. And I have this electrolyte powder that you got me hooked onto, and I put it in this big jug of water. Actually, it's right here. So it keeps it
What
cold
is
all
it?
day.
The emergency? What is it?
Emergency. Oh, I also have it here. Check this out. This one is called Ultima. No sponsorship. It's just me. I like it. It makes it taste like
Right.
lemonade.
Right.
It
Yeah,
really
it's really
works
good.
out. Yeah. Oh, another one is a writing journal. So whenever you guys are having a training session or even you're writing at home on your own and you notice something particular, it can be something that didn't work or something that did work or something you felt. I encourage everyone to write down just creative writing, just let it flow and you can always edit it later. Things that you learned or you want to try again. Oh, when I really used this left leg, my left calf started hurting, but it worked. So if my left calf stops hurting, you're probably on the right path for that specific. Oh, last one though. 3 bullet points on a card for every phase. So I don't know about you guys, but I've got lots going on. I mean, I've got my coach telling me this thing from that last week or that from yesterday, and my horse is doing this. So, in addition to all the refocusing, recentering techniques that you've been talking about today, I also want to put down just 3 simple things to refocus on that um, that I need to do in my riding that week. Say my horse has been really lazy this week. I'm going to say pulsing leg, chin up, shoulders open. And it can be very basic things, but
Right.
the things I've been really working on, that, all right, if I do those 3 things, I'm going to be so much better off. And for every phase, and then put it in your helmet or in your helmet bag and you read it right before you get on. And then hopefully it sticks with you when you go into the ring for sure. I found that
That
really helpful.
those are great, great
Mhm.
points. Thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, thank you. It's because of you.
Yeah, going back to the food thing, that's really
Yeah.
important because you're out there, it's hot, you get dehydrated, you have to have um, your electrolytes, and that's what that stuff is that she takes.
Mhm.
Um, and you have to have your protein,
Yeah.
and there's a lot of different electrolyte things. I mean, there are even little capsules that you can take.
Mhm.
But that's really important, and especially the longer that you are and out there,
Mhm.
the more you need it, and you definitely need protein as well somehow. So the protein bars are going to help, and
Mhm.
you want to sort of eat those. I mean, I would suggest a good breakfast, and then you're going to be out there during the day. So I don't
Mhm.
know. You can't really have perishable food much unless
Mhm.
you have your little icebox thing or whatever.
Yeah.
Tuna fish sandwiches are really, really good if you can keep them cold
Yeah.
because that's a really huge dynamite protein hit.
Mhm.
If you can't do something like that, then just do protein bars. And if you're eating protein bars, make sure you eat them sort of slowly and drink enough water with them so
Mm.
they digest well. So
Mhm.
it's really important because one of the things, if you get dehydrated, your thinking's not going to be as you're coherent, or, I mean, you'll get fuzzy or weird, or,
Mhm.
anything can happen. So you
Without
want to be
doubt.
hydrated, right?
Yeah.
And you need the protein to sustain the energy level.
Mhm.
So
Oh,
protein and carbs. Don't do all carbs because you can bonk, especially in the heat
oh,
down there.
oh
If
god.
you're sweating a lot, you really need the protein to sustain your energy level.
Mhm. And the thing I would add to that too is I'm traditionally, and I've gotten so much better over the years, one of those people who can't eat when they're nervous.
Yes,
I
right.
uh, I had two horses going intermediate at Rebecca Farms, Montana, one of our favorite events from the West Coast. And I couldn't eat anything all day, and my rides were at 4 and 5 o'clock in the afternoon.
Whoa.
And
Hmm.
thank God for my groom at the time, Amy Spink. Shout out to you. She forced me to eat a bite of a hard-boiled egg, and that's all I could keep down. And I survived. It went okay. But over the years, definitely, working with the mental techniques, I'm able to properly fuel myself now. But if you are one of those types of people, and while you're working on your mental work, uh, the most compact, blandest thing you can find is the best. So for sure, I really hard boiled eggs, jerky, and those little gummies. I think you told me about one time. They're like
Right.
little carb gummies or something like that.
Yes, they're electrolyte replacement. They're
Um,
what's the name of them? I'm blanking.
yeah, I
Uh,
can Google
yeah.
it.
Anyway, they're
You get them at runners stores because they.
yeah, yeah, or REI. I mean, they have 5 different kinds, and they're
Mhm.
electrolyte replacements, but they're very palatable, and
Mhm.
I like them a lot. I keep them in my car just because I like to munch on something. At least it's healthy,
Yeah, it
relatively.
could be worse. There could be tips, right?
Not nuts, you know. Um,
Yeah.
yeah. Uh,
Yeah, I
gee.
remember. Let's see. Another funny little short story. I was at Red Hills several years ago, and I was in warm up helping someone, and Philip Dutton comes riding up, and he hands his groom some things, and because he had so many back to back rides, he has this like magic pocket. He pulls out a banana. He pulls out these gummy bears. He pulls out like these arsenals of snacks, and so Big Phil knows, don't be
Totally.
worried to eat. We're athletes, guys. So stay
Yeah.
hydrated. Give yourself a good leg up. Mm.
Yeah. And bananas are really easy to digest, as well as hard-boiled eggs.
Perfect.
The other thing, you should play, not you, but people should play around with the kind of liquid protein drinks. I mean, there are some. I'm not a whey person,
Mm.
WHEY, because I don't do well with stuff like that, but or with milk products. But um, if you do, chocolate milk
Mm. That's a
is
great.
good. I mean, that's got 8 or 9 grams of protein, but the protein drinks that they sell pre-made and so forth have,
Mm.
15 to 20. And so I would play around with those in training and see if you like them, or if they,
Mm.
sustain you, before you ever do anything in competition with them. Just check them out and see what you think. I mean, and not, a lot of different things work for a lot of different people.
No, very true. That's another good point to bring up. Like this is all about practice. Don't feel like you have to save your mental techniques until you get to a competition. Practice it with your riding lessons.
Yes.
Before say you're waiting your turn to do your course if you're in a group lessons. Practice your blinking, your breathing, or you're nervous about a jump. Do that before you head out, and then see if it works for you, and see if it needs some tweaking, and just keep working on it. Would be my last little take there. How about
Mhm.
you, Kay?
Yeah, that's true. The mental training stuff is, you practice that just like you practice your jumps, like, when you're practicing before competitions. I mean, so when the reason you want to do the mental training all during your training and practice is because it becomes second nature to you. And so you don't have to think, now, what was that she said?
Right.
You want it right there where you can just go, oh, yeah, and do something. So
Absolutely.
you'll have fun with this. It's a lot of fun, honestly.
It is, especially when you see it working. You're like, hallelujah, I can actually use my hard-earned skills. How nice. And the horse will love it. Don't get me wrong, guys. Your horse will
Yes.
feel your peace. Yeah, absolutely. Oh man. Well, where can we find your book if we want to order it or listen to it or access it in a
I don't
format?
think you can listen to it. I don't think that I have not made an audio copy of it, but it's an ebook on Amazon, and it was published by Human Kinetics. They no longer have any more copies. I probably have about 10, and I sell them like for $50 a piece, autographed, because they're the last ones in existence, apparently. But there are some that you might be able to find used on Amazon. But just, there's a lot of ebooks out there for Kindle and other things. So it's there somewhere. It's on my iPad. So
I'll find it and I'll put a link. This interview will be on our page, so I'll get all that information and I'll put it in there.
Okay.
That sounds great.
People, if you want to reach me, why don't you put the link to my email address, which is kporter1@comcast.net.
And I will put the link to your page, which also has some resources and some free visualization, I think was one, and they're lovely to listen to.
Yes,
yeah,
right, the website, right?
Yes, on your website.
Yeah, yes.
All right. Well, if there are any people still nerding out with us, any listeners, do you have any questions? Write them down, and we're going to talk for a few more minutes as we're closing up shop. But it's been great catching up with you so far, and I'm just excited to help bring mental coaching into more audiences, more people, more faces, because it really is it's a lifesaver, and I think that everyone can benefit from this in their lives, but also with sport. Who'd have thought, right?
Yeah. Early on, when I first was working with athletes in the 80s, it's been a long time. I remember one guy who was a 400-meter runner, and he's going, "Is this supposed to affect my life too?" What do you mean? And he said, "I noticed that I'm just more calm and I'm getting along better with my girlfriend and my parents." And I mean, it's like, yeah, it works all across the spectrum, in your personal life as well.
Oh my gosh. That is so cool. And I'm excited to have you back. Maybe we'll do some more blinking, some more focusing, and I hope to see people who are here locally out at the horse park doing this before they go in the arena. Yeah, girl.
Yeah, this, tapping your chest if all else fails.
That's right. That's perfect.
Yeah, and if they do have questions that didn't get answered, if you want to do a short video sometime again answering the question, you can do that too.
That'd be great. And I'll and please, guys, post your questions here, and I'll get them to Kay, and we'll just keep on talking. And Kay does phone sessions as well. So if you guys are not located in her hometown of Eugene, Oregon, I'm calling her all the time before my shows. So she's wonderful on the phone as well if you want some personalized attention.
Yeah,
so with that,
on my website. That's on my website too, the information on that. So
yeah, we'll get that for all our fans. But thank you so much, Kay, Dr. Porter. It was a pleasure. And everyone, just you go keeping on, living your best lives.
Yes. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. It's good to see you again, too.
You too. Good too.
Okay. Bye.
Bye, guys. Bye, everyone.